Hi, everybody, and welcome to Small Biz Real Talk. We are so excited to be here this morning for our February installation here at Luchals Catering, and I'm here with Chantal Lucas. How are you? And so for all of you that have not joined us before, we pop around to all these small businesses because we want to get the in-depth, nitty-gritty. Tell us about how it means and how it feels to start a business. And so thankfully, ABC Bank sponsors us, so it's for free. So we're able to interview. So I'm super excited to be here with you today. I'd really just like to start with some chicken and waffles, but we can just do that afterwards. It's fine. So great to see you. I got to hear a little bit of your story a little while back during the Bundle Up campaign when we were kind of going through it during COVID and kind of hear some of your story. So before we kind of get into the nitty-gritty of your business, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started and how Luchals got started.
Hello, everybody. My name is Chantal, and I'm the owner of Luchals. And pretty much, I am from Los Angeles, California. I was born and raised in Inglewood, California, Compton, California area, and by a single mom. So ultimately, it was just me and her, and I didn't have like any business background or any entrepreneurs like in my family at all. She worked a 9 to 5, but she worked very, 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 very hard to get us get me what I needed. As a single child, it was a little bit easier, but it was hard, but it was hard as a single parent. Long story short, from California, I left and decided to go to the military. I did some banking in between then. I've done some food work in between then, been in the industry pretty much for over about 10 years or so, and decided to take my talents to the Army. Went to the Army about 2010, and from there, it was, oh my God, history started. Got trained by a lot of different people, great chefs, had a lot of great managers at the time that definitely pushed me to go in the direction of where we are today. A lot of catering, did a lot of dinners and things like that, and try to enhance my skills and hone in on things that I wanted to accomplish futuristically. I guess not knowing how far it would go, but just having that idea, that inkling that I did want to do something. From there, I met my husband about 2013, and while doing so, we talked about our dreams, our passions, and things like that, and what we wanted to do with our lives. And he was like, "Well, so when are we doing this? When is this catering coming about?" And from there, it was like I was kind of scared, because I was like, I don't know if this is something that I really want to push for, because you're putting yourself on the line every day. So every time somebody eats something from you, every time somebody sees a presentation from you, it's always that sense of feeling of, are they going to like it? Is that something that they really want? Is this going to, be good to their palate? Because everybody's palate is different. But having that time to actually test items on people and just having him in my ear, really having me push the button on it was a big motivator for me, which is why we are here today. So from us moving forward from Hawaii, where we met, we came and got stationed in Colorado. And that was my last stop. I started Luchals in 2016, and we were Luchals Catering at that time, and we did catering for a lot of Fort Carson military, did a lot of off-civilian site work, so I was still doing my military stuff, and I was catering at the same time, which was very, very, very hard to do, but it was rewarding at the same time. I had a lot of support from my Fort Carson family, from my dining facility to my sergeant majors, my commanders on up, which is surely appreciated to this day. They allowed me to do that and push my skill and my talent out into the world. And so from moving forward with Carson, we got a lot of, again, civilian sector stuff. So I did a lot of concerts, a lot of celebrity work, worked with some awesome promoters out here, 719 Nightlife, and things of that nature. And, they trusted us to, cater for their people that they were bringing out. And that definitely meant a lot for us as well, because again, we're talking celebrities and stuff like that. These people are, picky about what they eat and who they eat with. And for them to not have known who we were at the time, and just we're like, we see what you're doing, let's see what we can do. And we created a partnership at that time, and it was great. And then from there, opened up my food truck around 2017-ish. And after that, it was, hey, there's this new idea, 2020. Do you want to come and, get into it and, get your stuff out? And I'm like, sure. Sure, yeah. I had no idea about this space at all. But I did know that I was looking to get into a brick and mortar at the time. Maybe not too big, but something quaint that, was workable. And we got down here at Kawadi and been here ever since.
So we're going to talk more about that, but I'm really interested to see, and we do a lot of work with this with the SBDC, is that military transition.
Yes.
So sort of that boots to business.
Yes.
So what really worked for you kind of during that transition, and what kind of resources did you use? Because I know that would be helpful for people to know.
So ultimately, we did have the Boots to Business. That was a really good workshop. It kind of helped with a lot of building and building blocks. While transitioning, we go through our processes, and we have the civilian sector, and they connect you with a SCORE and all these different places and different people that can get you on the right track. I used some of these things. I had a very good teacher at the time when I was transitioning that kind of pushed all of my military jargon into civilian jargon, because that's a really big step for us, because we've been civilian, in the military for about 10, 11 years, and so you start having that mentality, and it's kind of hard to switch that over, instantly. So having a teacher that could help get me out of the military mindset and understand you're going back into the civilian sector and remembering what these pieces mean was very, very, very helpful for me. And passing our information along, because I think I was the only entrepreneur in my class that actually had the mindset that I was going to go forward and be an entrepreneur. Because usually when you get out, the biggest thing is to ensure that you have job security, which is totally understandable. And I did want to ensure that I had job security as well. So I had plans and things that I wanted to do, so we had those. But my biggest thing was, when I get out, I want to ensure that I can create my own space for what we were doing. And I worked very, very hard to do that. And again, like I said, I had a very good teacher and teachers at the time that were there to kind of help me along the way with getting my mind straight.
Yeah. So what made you decide this industry? Why did you think catering, food?
For me, food is something oh my gosh, like it speaks so many languages. And I think when you're able to articulate that in a different way to different people, no matter where you come from, I think you're doing a great deed to humanity, if that makes sense. But I've always loved food. I've always had a love for food. When I was younger, that wasn't like my claim to fame. Oh, I'm just going to be a chef. I never said that. I think as I grew into it, it became a niche for me, to where I knew that was something that I really liked. It was comforting for me, being able to feed thousands, feeding over 100,000 soldiers when we would go to the field. That was a big part for me. When we would wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and having to have food ready. Was it fun? No. But having to have food ready by 5 o'clock and having about 100 some odd soldiers come in for each meal while we were out in the mud, getting dirty, having lack of, communication with our family and things like that. That was something that made us feel whole. Because then it's like, hey, this is a hot meal. They put love into it, and we love it. And my NCOs, my managers at that time, they always pushed us to say, don't just feed people anything. You can't just throw it out there. Just because it looks like this doesn't mean you have to present it in this way. And so to be able to change that up and again, make it something that's like, hey, we're doing Chinese food in the field. Like, that's like, who... Chinese food, and then you would go like maybe a couple of miles down the road and a whole nother group, they're getting in a bag or some whatever, and they're like, we're not getting this kind of food, we're going to come and eat with you guys, and so that made us feel good, knowing that I was the person that people would come to in the dining facility and say, hey, well, we just want your mac and cheese when you're here, so who made the mac and cheese, or who made this, who made that. That was awesome to have that kind of interaction with people, and that kind of personal interaction with people, because that means that you're doing something to where they want you to be the one to present,
Right.
this item. So, yeah.
And so what made you pick the kind of food that you did? So, because it's, how would you describe it?
So for me, I think we get pushed into like these different categories of where it's like really soul food, it's Cajun and things like that. And so like I tell a lot of our guests, we're not trying to be a Cajun or soul food only type deal. My thought process is to fuse these things together and create something that, again, is good for everyone and kind of gives you an idea of, okay, so this made me feel like I was back in Louisiana, you know, or this made me feel like I was in Kentucky, or I had this when, you know, I was in Maryland. Whatever you get from it, I just want you to be able to let that resonate however you feel. So I feel we are a Southern American seafood company, but it's a fusion for sure, because I like to change it up a bit. You know, we do garlic parm, Brussels sprouts, we do catfish, you know, we do chicken and waffles. But we do it our way. We don't do it in its, I guess, in the way that it's always presented. I like to change things up. I don't like to keep it the same. I think the world is changing. So with the world changing, I think people want something different. You know, we can give them the same stuff all day, 24/7, but why not put a spin here, put a spin on that? Because the wheel's already been invented. So all you're doing is just articulating it in your own way. Yes.
So you have this idea, so you're kind of getting out of the military, and you decide you're going to start this business. So talk to me a little bit about sort of how that started for you. Did you use any resources to start this business? Did you talk to people? How did that process work from the idea to the actual execution?
So from the idea to the actual execution, I had a couple of people that were starting business. They were in business, and they kind of gave me some guidance on things. For me, it was more of just looking it up, reading about it, making sure that, you know, I knew exactly what I was getting myself into before getting into it, you know, because when you first start off, not everyone has the capital to start off, you know, with great resources, if that makes sense. So for us, it was just, what are the basic needs? So I got with the health department, I got with the city of Colorado Springs, taxes and things like that, and I talked to them to try to get an idea of, okay, where do I need to go, which route do I need to take, what would be, you know, what would be good for our business, instead of me just starting out and putting in some stuff on the, you know, online and then messing it up, which is funny because I did anyway. So yeah, so I did anyway. I think I started off as like a sole proprietor, and I had a lady. I went to go open up a business banking account, and a lady had said she worked at Chase, and she was like, this doesn't, and I was like, okay, what did I do? And so she was like, well, let me sit down with you. And so a woman at the bank actually sat down with me, and she helped me structure properly. And from there, that wasn't even her job, she didn't have to do that. From there, that's when we became the LLC, and we actually got things in order correctly and got it together.
That was my next question. Did you use a lawyer at all for any sort of the legal aspects?
No, not in the beginning. Now, totally different, but in the beginning we did not. It was just a lot of, again, resources and kind of looking online to make sure that we structured ourselves properly. And like I said, once I got out of the sole proprietor and we structured ourselves as an LLC, things pretty much picked up and we were on the right track, yeah.
So then you get kind of all your aspects into place. You talk to, you know, the bankers and those types of things, get everything situated. So what's your next move then? Do you hire employees? Is it just you?
It was just me and my husband at the time. It was crazy. So at that time, we didn't have any money to actually invest in employees. We weren't that big of a company at the time, so there was really kind of no need to. We were doing about maybe 50 some odd caterings, 50 guest caterings at a time to about maybe 100, and I can do that by myself. And it was weird because I was like, you can't do that by yourself. I'm like, no, I can't. And I was doing 100 guest parties, you know, alone. And then once we got to a certain point, and I want to say about 2017, when things started kicking up, when we got into the food truck, we started seeing people, and it was like, okay, we can do this. So it was us, and then our oldest son, he actually helped out and things like that. So it was really family, you know, oriented at one point. after that, we had to make a decision. And so luckily I had some good friends over, and they were like, my daughter, she wants to come work, and she needs a job and whatnot, and she does some little things here and there, but she might be able to help you, because at the time we needed a cashier. And so I'm like, okay, so yeah, it's time to hire. And so we went on ahead, got the young lady on the food truck, her name's Jamia, and from there she pretty much became our first employee. And then we grew from her and ended up getting another awesome young lady by the name of Haley, which was my NCO or sergeant at the time when I was in the military, his daughter. And she was looking for a summer job, and she's been with us ever since. So since about 2017 to now, we've had both of them. And then the food truck just grew and grew and grew, and it was like, okay, we need more help. And so it was me, my son, the two young ladies, and then my husband would be on there, and we were just rocking it out and trying to, get it done. But it all changed once we got this opportunity here, and that was when it was, okay, we really have to strategically sit down and, go over what we need, how we need to do it, what the logistics are, and things like that, because, food truck is kind of easy in a way. For me, we have a food trailer, so it's more for me unpacking and loading and getting stuff on there. It's a lot of like back-breaking work, Here's more, you get a chance to come in, get your stuff, put it, whatever. And that was the blessed part about it. But now we have to get employees. Yeah. So.
The interesting thing about your transition, and I hear this a lot, is you start kind of as a catering company, you move into like a food truck or a trailer, and then more into a brick and mortar. That's a smart model in a lot of ways, because it's low risk.
Right.
Tell me about your thought process each kind of step of the way.
It was scary the first step, because it was like, wow, we're getting ready to actually invest in a trailer. And investing in a food truck it can cost you a pretty penny. It can be cheap starting out, but I think it just depends on what you want, your wants and needs for your company. And for us, we had a lot of needs, because we knew we were going to be doing a lot of frying. We knew we were going to do all this, so we needed the space. We needed, a lot of stuff. So it was great that we were able to find a truck. I think we started, probably like $20,000. But overall investment in the food truck was over $100,000, and that was just to make sure that we had everything that we needed, to suffice. But starting off small that way is better, because you kind of get an idea of if you really want to do it or not. I think a lot of the times you want to jump big and you want to, let's go brick and mortar, but sometimes that's not a good way to go, especially in this day and age. So I think to be able to market your company by making a smaller / big investment, because it can be either or, that can help you out by knowing if you really want to do this or not, or if it's actually going to be, good for your business.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the marketing aspect of your business in particular is very interesting. You seem sort of, for lack of a better phrase, boots on the ground in a lot of ways, and organic, right? Marketing. So talk to me a little bit about marketing and what that looked like when you were at the food truck, and how you transitioned, and what you used for marketing.
For me, we had no marketing people at the time, no one to help us structure anything like that. It was all about me looking at the logistics of it and looking at what I needed to look at to make sure that I was doing my part in capturing an audience. And so reading a lot of different books and articles and things like that, I was able to come up with a structure of what I wanted. Failed in the beginning, but we worked towards capturing that audience. So from a food truck standpoint, we would post our plates, and people wanted to see the food and see what was coming out of it and things like that. Restaurant standpoint, people want to see people here eating at your restaurant. So there's a lot of different ways that you can capture your audience, but it all depends on exactly what you're trying to capture. And I think for me, it was the food, making sure that people understood what we served, how, what it looked like, what are you getting, how much food are you getting, things of that nature, and not having like, blanket posts where it's like, hey, we're here, and they're like, okay, cool, you're here, but what is here, what is this? So just giving people an idea of who we were was my biggest piece of it.
And I think too, you kind of developed your own following in so many ways, and so which is helpful as for a food truck, since 2017, that kind of time period is when the food truck, it used to be like there was like 3, and now there's over 100.
Yes.
And so, talk to me a little bit too about how when you were at the food truck, your thought process and like maybe we want to go into a brick and mortar, maybe we want to transition. What did that look like?
So again, like I tell people all the time, it's such a hard business to be in. Food is a hard business to be in because again, you have to ensure that everyone likes your food, and not everyone is going to like your food, and not everyone is going to accept that. And so there were a lot of times when I was like, oh, maybe not, maybe I shouldn't, because you would get certain things here and there, and it would kind of deter you. For me, those things would bother me, because I'm like, okay, maybe I don't want to push myself out this far. But it was the ones who actually supported us and really came out and kind of really gave us that feedback that was like, hey, maybe we could try this, or maybe you can try that. But it was good, and so I took those things and I'm like, maybe I need to just soak that up, instead of taking it so personal. And my husband was really big about me not taking things personal. It was, hey, what do we do to fix this? Or what do we do to change, what people are saying or what they want? And I think we did that. And so that was where, when things started looking up on the positive level, I think we grew. I started off with like maybe 300 followers in 2016. And by 2018, we had already grew, or 2017, we grew to about 4,000. And then from 2017 until about 2019-ish, we grew to almost 8, and we're close to 10,000 followers right now. And that was a big jump, to see people really engaged in what we were doing, and it kind of let us know that we were doing something right. And from there, I'm like, yeah, well, maybe this is it. But it was scary because, again, we're going from food truck to actual, brick and mortar in a sense. And now you're really having to, face people and what they like and what they don't, and, things like that. But it didn't deter us.
So what are some of the nuances and differences between food trucks and brick and mortars? So what have you found, in the industry to be the difference between the two?
The difference is, I guess, you give the guest more of an experience. You can only do so much on a food truck. So you figure you go to rallies and you're, at this brew house or at this pub and things like that. You can only do so much in that confined space, and without you having your own type of seating, which we did try to create our own kind of thing. When we would go to like the brew houses, we would have our plating and have our napkin setups and our sauces and things like that, just to make it feel like it was like a restaurant experience. But you don't have that much to work with. Being in an actual brick and mortar, they're able to sit down, they're able to get drinks, they're able to have that vibe, that feeling that I would want if I was to come and serve a particular type of food. And I think that also goes the same way as what type of food you're serving, because not every type of food genre should be, let's say, sit down. You get what I'm saying? So I think for us, it was getting to a point where people were asking, so when can we come and sit down? Do you guys have a restaurant? And we were like, no, this is it. They were like, wow, this is what you guys are cooking out of a food truck? That's crazy, because I guess at the time it wasn't really a thing back then, because we were, fancying it up, doing garnishes, making it look presentable, things like that. But you're able to give people an experience, and I think we've been able to offer our guests a great experience by being here, as opposed to being on the food truck.
And I think too, just to go back to some of the marketing aspects, is so much of marketing is marketing yourself.
Right.
And I think that you've done a really good job of marketing who you are. So it's the food, but it's also you. Was there any sort of do you ever want to like move away from that? Do you like being because they associate so much of your food and this experience with you.
Right.
So was that intentional?
So in the beginning, it was intentional, because it was more of, okay, this is who's cooking your food. So I was that person behind it. This is who created. This is, the creator. it can be a negative as well. And I only say that because we have had experiences where they, will come and, oh, is she there? Is she, and I'm like, I totally understand that. But I would love for you guys to trust our brand and understand that we would have people to come in to be able to create that same experience that Chef, Luchal or Chef Lucas gives you, as opposed to it just being, hey, she's here, we only want the food when she's here. And so we had to change that narrative for a lot of our guests and have them trust us and know, like, hey, we are really trying to make this, the best thing that it can be. So, give us time, give our people time, and just know that we're doing what we can to make sure that the experience will stay the same throughout, So, yeah, that was kind of hard for sure. Yeah.
So then you moved into this space, and so do you still have your trailer and this? So do you do both?
We don't do both. We're actually, right now, we're under renovation with our truck, trying to change some things out, get some new stuff in. We're hoping that we can get it up by the summertime of this year, but we're taking that very slow because this is honestly has been taking up a lot of our time. And with COVID and everything happening right now, it's really hard to get people to, come out and we can't find people, like that. It's not that easy. So again, we should be able to be back up by the summertime, but yeah.
So tell me about this opening. So you opened here when?
It was 2020, about August 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so talk to me about how that was a different transition for you from the trailer. So you decided to come here, but now you have to market differently, right? The experience is different. So tell me about this space and what makes it unique, because it is a brick and mortar, but it's also kind of in that, that food hall sort of narrative, right? So, so tell me a little bit about that.
So, I mean, for us, it was more of how do we make this like a collective? So ultimately, a lot of people get it confused. They say, oh, we thought it was just like a restaurant. And we're like, no, it's, a food hall, kind of like a food dining experience, but we also give you our own experience. So though there are over 5-6 different vendors here, when you come to us, we have a different type of idea of what we want to give you. And having to kind of switch it, we've lost some people because they didn't know that we were here. So a lot of our food truck guests, they are just now finding us, and they're like, oh my God, like you're here, like I'm glad that you're here, but we didn't know. But they're able to, again, get an experience and be able to sit down and enjoy a meal. Some of them, they stay in this area, work in this area, so it actually worked out for a lot of them because they can come here and just grab a quick lunch or, do whatever in this space. And again, they don't even have to be coming here to see us. They can come here and grab a drink. They can come here and do work, So for us, we're just kind of, when we started, it was like, okay, well, we're not going to be able to get this market. We have to switch over and try to grab this market. So now we're just marketing for this area and the areas beyond. And so just keeping up with the same thing, changing our plating around, changing that ideology of what you get, kind of changing some of our menu items around, because now we have to make it more of a sit-down type of deal. So it's not a food truck deal. It is a fast-paced service to where you should be getting your food in and out. But again, we want to create an experience. So what do we do to do that? And so those are kind of some of the things that we had to kind of tweak just a little bit, just to give people that hey, we're in Kawadi, we're in a sit-down location now, so come eat with us.
So I'd love to pop behind here, and you just tell us a little bit about the menu too, as well, just kind of what you're serving, and then Jackie will come up and talk to us about financials. So let's pop and see. So it's still a very small space.
It is. It is.
But you're used to working in a small space.
Yes.
Okay, so talk to me about kind of the process and how it works kind of setup-wise.
So pretty much we have our cashier here. They're in charge of making sure that all of our plates go out as they should. They're the last eyes on the product. From this line here, we're able to pack up our stuff. We have our bags and stuff here. This is our waffle station. We do a lot of chicken and waffles. We just had to upgrade and get another waffle iron because we have been selling chicken and waffles like crazy. So this is where we do all that good magic and jazz. We have our chefs here, so ultimately your food gets prepared here. We have all of our seasonings, our plating, and things like that, so it's easy access for them to be able to go and toss and pass it down to the cashier. We also slice our potatoes from scratch. So here goes our potato slicer, and so this is where that happens. So they're constantly pumping out potatoes and things.
Yep.
Our fry station here. So whenever we're doing like our seafood, shrimp, things like that, goes over here. Sauces for our tenders and whatnot. And then our frying station, which we only have 2. We actually need 3 because we've been doing a lot of frying. And then from here on down, this is our stove area, oven, where we store all of our stuff. So it's a very compact area, but logistically, you have to know, how you want it to go, and your menu will definitely make an impact on that. So having a good menu where it flows easily to where we're not doing this or trying to go back here, it definitely helps. So that was a tough thing as well, because you want to offer so much,
of course,
but we can't offer everything, so which is why we kind of condensed our menu a little bit lower.
Tell me a little bit about your menu currently. So I love your fried okra.
Yes,
that's my favorite thing.
Yes. So right now we have like a southernish kind of deal. We offer some kind of Maryland treats, if you will. We do like crab fries. We do like Cajun shrimp fries. So we give you a mixture of like hot. We give you some, cold. We give you some country. Whatever kind of whatever you feel it should be. But we're just trying to offer everything. We do snapper. We try to get a lot of different fish in, just to give, again, a different experience, a different idea. We'll be getting trout in soon and things like that. So, again, we're just trying to offer different stuff for this winter season. Springtime, we'll be changing over our menu to some other things. Not too crazy. We took our mac and cheese off the menu, but we will be bringing that back because a lot of people have been asking about it. But yeah, we try to offer things for the seasons as they come. So
before we go back around, a lot of restaurants have been having supply chain issues.
Yes.
So have you felt the effects of that at all?
Yes.
How so?
So we used to serve wings, and wings were a staple for us here, and we had to stop. Because wings are so expensive right now, and not even the fact that they're expensive, it's the quality of what we're getting, and for me, quality is over everything. I would not serve a product that is not worth your dollar, and I feel like everything that we put out should be of quality. So we took the wings off. They were, oh my God, I think wings used to be about $60 a case, for a 40-pound case, and they've jumped up to almost $163 a case. And to have to roll that cost over to our guests,
not worth it.
I just didn't want to do that. So it's definitely
this is a great space back here. You
Yes,
do a lot with a little, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We do.
All right, and we'll have Jackie from ABC Bank come up.
All right, so now the fun part.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's talk about the financial aspect of the business. So tell us about some of the things that you've learned. What have been some good lessons, maybe some hard lessons that you've learned regarding the financial side of the business?
Oh, man. Oh, gosh. Starting off, I don't want to say small, but starting off trying to lower pricing was a big one. I think at one point we tried to keep our prices at a certain, standpoint so that we could, feed everyone. And unfortunately in business you cannot do that. And I learned that a long time ago, which, again, we want everybody to be able to come and eat and things of that nature. But as food cost goes up, our cost goes up. And if you want a certain item, that's just, how it goes. So we definitely paid more attention to our COGS and, what we were doing and how much we were giving out and what we were giving out. We would have people say, oh my gosh, it's like 2 meals. And I'm like, that's a problem. So somebody's putting too much in something, so we need to fix that because you can lose a lot of money by overfeeding. You think you're doing a great deed. Yeah, you are, but you're actually hurting your company more.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about percentages, if you know those. So for every $100 that you bring in, how much of that goes towards your cost of goods sold, overhead, all those good things, and then kind of what's your bottom dollar?
Bottom line, yeah. So we have to invest back into our payroll. So our payroll is at least about 13%, which is pretty decent. Our cost of goods right now, it's oh my gosh, at like 30%. It's pretty huge. And then I think we only see about maybe 10 to 15% of that cost. And that's because I am investing back into my company as well. So ultimately, you know, like they say, a lot of restaurants or being in the restaurant industry, you might only see about 5% of that back. And for us to be able to still manage during this season where everything is high, crab meat, fish, you know, even your cheapest items that you think are supposed to be cheap, you know, Brussels sprouts are like 50 a pound, you know, it's crazy. And, you know, a lot of people are like, well, why did you take the Brussels sprouts off? I was like, ma'am, you know, they were almost 60 bucks, and that would have been almost an $11 side of Brussels sprouts for you. We want to ensure that we're keeping that as low as possible, but the customers want what they want as well. So it's kind of one of those give and takes to where as long as the customer is willing to pay, you know, for that, I think you investing back into your company to ensure that your guests get that experience of what they want is going to outweigh some of that, you know, but we try not to go too overboard. So we've just been keeping our menu pretty simplistic to where, okay, we know that these things kind of won't change as much, but if we do see a jump, if it's over a 35% jump, then we'll have to discontinue and we won't carry that item anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting as a consumer to go out and see how much costs have increased, you know, or the price of a meal has increased. And I think most of us understand, you know, that it's not you as the business owner, but certainly you're not going to be able to absorb those increase in costs, so you have to pass that on, unfortunately.
Correct.
So how often do you review your numbers, and what kinds of tweaks and changes have you been able to make to help offset some of those increases and you know, maybe bring home a little more money for yourselves?
So our accountant has actually been very, very good. We have a weekly meeting with him, and he goes over all of our numbers and kind of what our margins are, what we're hitting, what doesn't work, what is working, what can you do to fix this? Well, looking at this looks like it's going up. He reads a lot and reads everything. So there's some things that we may not even know about that he's like, hey, so I seen this, and you guys might want to look at this as a piece. And when I say that has been the ultimate help for us, oh my goodness, but that's an investment as well. So that's that piece, you know, like I say, you might only see 5% of your money because you're investing in people to ensure that you are keeping on track and you are generating some type of income as a business owner, because you're not in business just to be in business. You're in business to increase, you know, and you don't want to go down. So definitely changing some of our items, changing some of the food items, using what works, taking away what doesn't work has definitely been a big help for us. And he has actually been great with getting us to that point. But
yeah, and I think sometimes business owners underestimate the value of having a CPA or an accountant or a bookkeeper help you, because you're busy, focused on your business, and you're not an expert on the financial side of it, or at least most people aren't. And so it sounds like that's probably a piece of advice that you would give to other people that are either in business or starting business, is to make the investment into somebody that can help you with that piece of it.
If you can, yes, definitely invest in someone who you can trust, because it is a lot. I think the biggest part of it is trusting somebody to be able to take on your money and, you know, look at these things and your assets and stuff like that. Because again, it's your money. So if something happens, you know, that's what you got. You know, it's your security net. So having somebody to be able to see what you don't see, because, you know, in the beginning, I tried to do my own thing, and once we got to a certain, you know, point, I was plateaued. I was like, no. My husband's like, no, we definitely have to move differently, and we did. And so by having him, we have definitely seen a huge change within our company, what we do, standard operations, logistics, and things like that, because that's another person that can keep those wheels spinning for you, instead of it just being you trying to think about it, you know, your spouse, however your family business runs. The family business can only see so much with lack of experience and lack of certain educational aspects of it. You get what I'm saying? It's so much easier to say, yeah, well, John can, you know, help, or, you know, my cousin can do this and things like that. that's cool. But let somebody from the outside look in, and so that they can take on and say, you know what, well, what you might have thought worked really is not working, or maybe you should switch this out, or maybe, you know, because it's an unbiased opinion.
Right.
Especially with spouses. You're in a small business, and you and your husband, you and your family, you guys are going to bicker, you guys are going to argue, you guys are going to have different ideas of what you think is right. But what you think and what you know are two different things. Knowing is better than thinking. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a good point, trusting someone.
Right.
So I think even though somebody else is looking at your finances for you and helping you with that, that doesn't mean that you're completely unaware of what's going
Right.
on. So I think as a business owner, you still have to be involved.
Right.
Because we've all heard horror stories.
Yes.
So I think it's important that, yes, you trust people, but at the same time, you also don't give up 100% of control.
Correct.
And you stay involved.
Correct. Yes, ma'am. Yes, you definitely do. Of course, yeah. You don't want to just, hey, toss it over and just now I'm blind to it. But stay on top of your studies, and, you know, even take some time to read about certain things that you may not know about, you know, because at the end of the day, yes, you are paying that person, but you still need to be in the know of certain stuff. So I don't know everything. I didn't go to school for it, but I know that these are my points that I need to make sure that are efficient, they're working well, because if not, these are the pieces that are going to allow us to either stay in business or fall apart. So, yeah.
So do you use any financial software? I'm sure you have like a point of sale system
Yes.
that keep track of a lot of things for you.
So yes, yeah, we use Toast within here. We also use Square. We do, my financee does QuickBooks. We have a couple of other different things that he does and builds up, Google and things like that, back offices and things of that nature. So yeah, we do have a lot of different software, and again, that is also an investment because that also costs money. You cannot just run on free QuickBooks all the time, you know, because that's how I started. I had a QuickBooks, but it was just a little basic QuickBooks. And then again, once we reached a certain level, it was, okay, well, now we have to get into this point. So now we have to go ahead and pay that money. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that, it's a good point that you're making. You're investing in the business.
Right.
So it is costing you money, but in the long run, it's probably saving you money.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
like you said, you're able to see where your expenses are and things that maybe you need to keep an eye on or make changes.
Correct.
So
Correct.
any last words of wisdom regarding the financial side of the business?
You know, charge your cost. Right now, it's hard. It's hard for everyone. Like you were saying, you know, even going to the grocery store needs help. You know, it's bad for everybody. You used to be able to buy eggs for, let's say, $2, you know, and now eggs are $5 and $6, and we're like, well, why? You know, what's going on? You know, when I stayed in Hawaii, that was the funny part for me. I seen that in Hawaii, everything is 30% or more, you know, because it's cost of goods getting over to that area. Oil is more expensive, you know, but you would go to McDonald's and you would spend almost $25-30 there, and we were like, how? And we only bought maybe 2 items. But that was the cost. And guess what? McDonald's had to keep going, and there's still people there eating their food. And so for me, it's more of make sure that you're charging, you know, what you need to charge. We can only do so much. As small businesses, you know, you want to see them thrive. You don't want to see them fail. You like something, you love it, you want to eat it, you want to be there, you want to go to it, whatever that may be. It doesn't even have to be the food industry. But understand that, like you said, it's not us that wants to, we don't want to charge you more. But we have to, because we're trying to stay in business. We also have other people that we're employing. We're trying to employ, you know, the city, and we're trying to keep people working. This is the only way we can do that. Wages are higher now. We can't do what we did 2 years ago. We have to change that up now. And so with having to change it up, these are the things that come with it. And hopefully we can get back to a certain standpoint where it's not, you know, so high, and we can kind of, you know, get back to a middle ground where things are a little bit better. But right now, you know, every small business is doing what they can to try to survive. So, you know, I just hope that people still support that and understand that, as opposed to being opposed to it at this time.
Yeah, I think people, honestly, people I talk to, I feel like Colorado Springs is a really good community for small business.
Yes, definitely.
It seems like people support small business and will really go out of their way,
Yes,
you know,
ma'am.
to do that.
Oh,
So,
yes, definitely. Yeah, I will say that for us, during COVID, it was crazy. When we got here, we ended up having to close the doors. I want to say October, November was when they put out the mandate that we mask and only 30% or something like that. And we were just doing curbside and we were just doing online. And it was so scary for me because it was like, wow, we're getting to a point where we don't, oh my God, nobody's walking in anymore. So, you know, what do we do? And I had 5 associates at the time. And that was so hard for me because I had to say, oh my goodness, do I stop what I'm doing and say, hey, you know what, maybe this was the wrong decision, or do I keep going? And my mindset took me back to when I was in the Army, having to be an NCO and to lead other soldiers. You're not just going to go out there and just let somebody's child die. You're not just going to let somebody's child be lost. You're not just going to leave them behind. And so for me, no matter how old they are, no matter how grown you are, it didn't matter. These are people that I had to account for. And so because I had to account for these guys, every day I walked in with, what am I doing next? What are we going to do? How are we going to keep, you know, those screens green? How are we going to keep, you know, stuff rolling? And I got, you know, I got down to the nitty gritty and we made it work, man, and they're still here to this day. So
That's awesome.
It's been a blessing.
Well, good for you.
Yes, ma'am.
That's amazing. So, talking about employees, you talked a little bit about how you started out with just a couple of employees. So, what is your hiring process like now?
So now, pretty much, you know, we'll have the over-the-phone conversation, try to get an idea of what it is that that they're trying to do, if they want to be a cashier, if they want to be a cook and things of that nature, trying to figure out what their thoughts are and how much money they want to make, you know, things like that, which is a big thing again right now is pay wage. A lot of times you're not paying or saying the right thing, they'll walk away, you know, because people are trying to make a living, you know, right now. So it's understood as to maybe sometimes we may not be able to offer that, but we can definitely offer this, and we try our best to try to, you know, meet people halfway. That's my biggest thing. I try my best to invest in my people because I feel like if you invest in your people, they'll invest in you back, and this keeps this thing rolling. And at the end of the day, we want to make sure that people get a good experience. We want to make sure that people are you know, loving what they eat when they come here. So I wouldn't want to offer somebody, let's say, you know, pennies at the dollar and they're not happy here. And now the guest experience is going bad, or, you know, things are, they don't like it. And so, yeah, the food could be great, but if the guests don't like it, or they don't like the fact that they came and talked to somebody that just wasn't happy with their job, then they probably won't come back, you know. But ultimately, that's pretty much where we stand with that, and vigorous training and, you know, ensuring that everybody understands the logistics of being here and how this works, and, you know, and again, and just wanting to be here is the biggest part, but, yeah.
So you were in the, excuse me, you were in the military.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of management style do you have? And I'm sure part of that you learned in the military.
Yes.
And how does that kind of, you know, how does that work with your employees?
For me, it's leading from the front. And leading from the front meaning if I don't do it, they're not going to do it. I can't tell you to go and make sure that this looks a certain way if when I come in you see me doing something totally different. I think that creates a really bad, you know, experience for your staff. They will watch that. You know, you can own and lead and be this and that or whatever you may feel that you are, but if your associates don't resonate with that, then what are you really doing? And for me, it's just making sure that I'm leading from the front and trying to be the best person I can be. I am not perfect. I am not perfect by a long shot, but right, you know, I'm not perfect, you know, and so at the end of the day, there are some things that, you know, I'll make a mistake. I'll have some of my, they'll say, hey, chef, something messed up, you know, and I'm like, totally understand, thank you for letting me know, and then we'll drive on and, you know, keep going. So being able to take things from your staff as well, you know, take that stuff in, listen to your people, you know, when they're telling you something. It's not about everyone trying to tell you how to run your business. It's more about what can we do collaboratively, you know, to make this a better situation for everybody and the next people to come. And that's pretty much how I look at it, you know.
So what kind of challenges, or have you had any challenges with your employees? I can't imagine you haven't, because every business owner has, and,
Yeah.
and how have you dealt with those?
I mean, I think it's trying to change a mindset. So, you know, you get people from every walk of life, and they've been in this kitchen, and they've worked here, and they worked there, and they have this mindset on how this should be, or this mindset on how that should be, and it's like me having to kind of change the brain on what right looks like in some, standpoint. So just giving people, hey, this is what we expect and not what you are, used to, is big. And it's hard because, again, they came from over here and they've been doing this like that for 10 years, or they've done this for 5 years, they've done this for 3, and so they get stuck in this mentality of, this is the way that I'm used to it, but it's like, well, no, this is how it should be, or this is the way that we do it here. That's probably been like the biggest thing. And then just, keeping people, I guess, engaged. And I'll say that meaning like, there's some people that'll, say that they want to be in the restaurant industry, and then once they get into it, they don't like it. They don't like it. They do not like it. And so having people that have once had a really a good feel about it, and then they start dropping down, and it's like you can tell, like, they don't, this is not, their thing. So again, that goes with us, finding people that really want to, do this, because this is not an easy job at all. It's very hard dealing with the customer service aspect of it, and just cooking in general for over 100, 200 people at a time can be strenuous, on certain people. So just trying to find that, that right person to be able to fit into, our organization and, love what they do.
So do you own 100% of the business, or is it you and your husband, you
Me and
said?
my husband, yeah.
So have there been any challenges since, since you have 2 owners, and of course, even though you're married, you don't always see eye to eye.
Right.
Have there been any challenges with regard to employees and dealing with that? How does that work when there's 2 of you involved?
Yeah, so we definitely have to come to some type of agreement on who we want, what we want, and things like that. What I will say is that my husband is more amped for me to be able to pick out, because this is my, this is me. Like, I live, breathe, I know what I want as far as chefs and, what type of personalities I want to have in the kitchen and things like that. So he allows me to be able to do that. His is more of the logistics area and, where this goes or how this should be, or maybe we should try this, or maybe we should try that. And sometimes it'll be, no, I don't want to do that. And then it's sometimes where it's like, all right, let's try it. And then it works out. And so, again, having somebody from the outside looking in to be able to help us get that balance has helped, because then we're not going back and forth trying to jog our brains around, because either you feel a way or you're looking at this because you're looking at it from the inside. You need people to help you see it from the outside. So we try to stay away from getting into little riffs and tiffs between each other. We always get a third opinion just to make sure that maybe what we're doing is on the right track and things like that.
So do you use an HR service or a payroll service to help you with that?
We do, yes. We use Pikes Peak as our payroll service. Yes,
Okay,
we
good.
do. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
All right, well, any last words of advice for business owners with regard to HR or personnel?
I mean, definitely, like I said, lead from the front. Your staff is only going to do what you do. Care about your staff. Invest in your staff. Invest in good people. It takes a lot to invest in good people. Like I said, sometimes we get desperate and we just want to grab and go because we need, but you definitely need to ensure that the people that you have are who you would want as a consumer. Me as a consumer, how do I want to come to someone's restaurant, or how would I want to be greeted and things of that nature. Making sure that we're seeing that and giving people quality, giving people what they want and not what you want to give them. We always think that it's kind of, oh, well, I would do this or I would do that. It's not about you. It's about those guests that are coming daily to support you. So, yeah.
All right, well, Mackenzie's going to come back over and wrap things up for us.
Hi.
Hello.
This has been so fun today, getting to know you and getting to know about your business and all the aspects. And it's amazing to hear, too, kind of, start to finish. It's still not finished. There's still more to come, right? And so as we wrap up, I'd love to hear, business owners who are listening, maybe they want to start a food truck, maybe they want to start a restaurant. Can you give them a piece of advice, something like you wish someone had told you?
Yeah. For me, I think it's really more of getting the education on what you're getting into. Really really knowing the market. And food trucking is one of those things, like I say, I get a lot of questions of, I want to start this and I want to start that. Well, where do you start? What have you done? And like I say all the time, especially with food, we can have our friends and, tell us that, oh, this is great and this is that. Well, market it to people that don't know you. Market it to people that have never seen you, would know your name, and see what type of reactions that you get from that. Knowing what part of business that you want to get into, where do you want your business to be, is a big piece too. Because you can open up, but you don't just open up anywhere. So where do you want to go? What market do you want to reach? And then as far as the food truck aspect, investing in a quality food truck. Making sure that you're checking out everything inside of that food truck, making sure that you're looking at all the logistics within, not just buying something that looks good and fancy, and then you'll end up having to invest almost, thousands of dollars into it. Is another big thing as well, because people are they dupe people 24/7, and the food truck industry is very easy market to be duped in when it comes to buying these trucks and buying these trailers that I've saw that happen almost twice with us. So from experience, just making sure that you're actually, going in with a straight mind, getting those resources, going to store if you need to store to see, what they might have to offer, getting with your local offices and things like that, health departments and stuff, talking to the people that help get these type of structures and stuff together is like a big part, so that you're not questioning.
Right. And I do think that, like the Pikes Peak SBDC provides free consulting,
Yes.
practical training, workshops.
Are very low cost. I think it just died. So I think those types of things are really important to remember.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
also have Biz Start Day that we're doing at the SBDC on the first Monday of every month. You can come in, it's $30, and we give you lunch, and you can have basically start your whole business. And you have 4 awesome speakers that will be a part of that. So you can go to pikespeaksbdc.org to learn more. But as we kind of finish up, was there a story or something that's happened that you're like, this is why I do what I do? Like that got you in your feels, or just inspired you to keep going?
Yes, I had a young lady. She would come to our food truck a lot. Came for the okra, and that was like her biggest thing. And her mother passed away, and so when her mom passed away, I want to say maybe it hadn't even been a week yet. The young lady came to our truck, and she was crying, and I didn't know what was going on. I felt it was something wrong with her, because I've always seen her, because I pay attention to, my guests, because I know them. And so I was like, are you okay? And she's like, no. And I'm like, what's going on? She's like, my mom passed away, and COVID had, taken her mom. And so she was like, the only thing I had thought about was eating your food. And that, I had chills, because I had never had anyone just come out and be so personal to me like that. And knowing that my food had resonated with her as a comfort piece in that moment was breathtaking for me, yeah. And so, I hugged her and gave her a plate on the house, because I'm like, this is, like, I can't, I couldn't, So having guests like that really keep me motivated to keep on going. Having guests that, hey, we've watched you from this point to that point, keeps me motivated. So, yeah, that's
huge.
Yeah.
Food, it transforms people, I think. And
Yes,
I think
ma'am.
you've done that really, really well.
Thank you.
So as we close up, tell us where we can find more information about you, how we can learn more.
Yes, so I am on Facebook. We are at Luchals, Luchals. You can go to eatluchals.com. That is our website for catering. You can see some photos, great stuff there. We also have Instagram, and it'll be at eatluchals, no lower cases. And our email is luchalscatering@gmail.com if you need to contact us, or phone number is 310-864-0092 if you need to reach us as well.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you.
And for talking with us.
Thank
and
you.
If you want to learn more, and I can't say enough about the fried okra. It's all good, but I could just eat baskets and baskets of it. So I appreciate all that you do for our community,
Thank you.
for our vets. Thank you for your service. We're so deeply appreciative for you being a minority, woman-owned, vet-owned business. It's
Thank
huge
you.
for our community. So, and thank you for joining Small Biz Real Talk. Next month we are going to Kinship Landing, which is right up the street from you. So we're going to learn more about that hotel. well. So, and thanks again to ABC Bank for providing this series for free for us. And then until next time.
Thank you.
I know. Is it too early for okra? I mean,
No,
That was awesome. Thank you. You were great.
Yeah.
You, yeah.
One. Yes.
We were talking about. We're like, she's like been the best.
The
one
best.
So far.
Yeah. Truly a very great interview. So yeah, you had yourself together. That was sweet. So.
Thank you guys for having me.
Oh no, it was
So
cool.
you still cater?
Yes, I actually, we are